Israel is right now going through a period of existential re-examination, the likes of which it has never experienced. This is 0 hour for Israel. It's all changed. It has all changed. Everything changed October the 7th. And not for the better. If you are in the slightest bit if you are the slightest bit interested, let me get my thing here. The slightest bit. If you are the slightest bit interested in what's happening, focus now, and your level of study has to change. You are wasting your time if you keep listening to the same 4 people give you the history of Hamas. I don't know where this is. I don't know where critical thinking. I'm not going to mention names, but some really smart people are saying you're not doing anybody a service here. You're not explaining what's happening. First of all, you can't pick a side. You can't pick a side. Let me tell you again. If you want to go to somebody who is going to just pound Israel all day long, go ahead. Go ahead. If you want somebody who's going to give you the pro-Israel position all day long, go ahead. But you're going to miss the truth. You're going to miss the truth. You're going to hear it one way or another. And what 99% of everything is not pro-Hamas or even pro-Palestinian. It's anti-Israel. Ostensibly, they will say, this is what we are here. The benefits of this, the bases of this particular show is to promote, Palestinian. They don't do that. When was the last time anybody told you, what do the Palestinian people want? What is this? How does this work? You have the same 4 people saying genocide and apartheid all day long. Fine. What are you going to do? They don't know. They visited a million times. They can name places you've never, the Al-Shifa hospital. And you think, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about because they know the names of places. Now listen to me and try to take everything you've heard from everybody else and forget it, unless you really don't care about learning the truth. Let me say this again. If you want to just hear your side pushed and promoted, great. You understand what I'm saying? If that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. What happened yesterday regarding this hospital is a game changer. Nobody wants to hear what happened. Do you want to hear Israel's side of it? No. Do you want to hear how the allegations have been made and there appears to be substantial evidence that it was either a misfire or miscalculation or something that went wrong regarding Gaza rockets? No. You do know when you say a rocket, rockets are the worst. You light them and it's like a bottle rocket. It's like ballistic. You don't know where it's going. You do, but you don't. Okay. Anybody want to hear that? No. If you don't listen to what Israel is saying, if nowhere in the course of your explanation is there any interest whatsoever in Israel's take, you're not going to get the full picture. You're not. And I'm thinking when I'm saying it again, I don't want to spend time, because anybody who has an opinion, good for you. But there's 2 in particular, a man and a woman. They're just, it's like they are incapable of understanding The word Israel, and I'm not promoting Israel. I'm not pro either side. It's not about a side. It's about a movement. It's about a new world. It's about focus. It's about warfare. It's about everything. So let me stop right there. Let me remind you, my friends. I cannot say this enough to you. First, I want to thank you for subscribing. Subscribing is the only thing, the only metric. Subs are the only thing that people care about. Views, I should say, but really subs. Let me thank you. Very, very quickly, if you go to the page, remember, people ask, what about on February 3rd? We're getting ready for next year. 2324. Remember this. The Lotus for POTUS tour takes to the stage. Okay. That's then. Again, I also, as I say, I thank you all for your super chats and your support, which means so much. I also want to remind you that we are the proud sponsors of My Patriot Supply. And if you go to preparewithlionel.com right now, there is an unheard of $200 off a 3-month emergency food kit. $200. And we're not talking about any, you just have to go and you have to see this. Go to preparewithlionel.com. There's the link right there. Don't imagine what it is. Look at this. And imagine you trying to create this on your own for 90 days, 2,000 calories a day, 25-year shelf life, 21 varieties. Good luck. And you've got families and friends, and you need variety before they lose their minds. Somebody sent me a picture of their cupboard, and they had I don't know how many tins of oatmeal. It's like, are you kidding? That's it? Well, we've got food. Well, yeah. Preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. Cannot say that enough. And one more thing, never count them out. Never, ever, despite I've never seen anything like it. They hate this guy. But mypillow.com is still the greatest company. Made in America, sheets, pillowcases, pillows, toppers, blankets, slippers. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. All of this information is on our so please, if you're listening to this on the phone, you got to go below the actual name and see this information for yourself. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. First, humiliation after humiliation of seeing Joe Biden sit looking not only, he looked like he was in the recovery room, like he was coming out of sedation. He looked like he was in a room and he was just beyond anything. And he just looked like he was not really there. And he had his cars and he was okay. And then he looks up with that look, with that voice, that old man kind of voice, where you lose your voice. And he said, well, it's like I learned there's a lead when you leave with you. Well, I better not talk about that. Dear God, he's doing it again. He's doing it again. I don't know why he's doing it again, but he's doing it again. He has this thing where he wants to speak. It's pathetic. Every time I see Air Force One and I see that little kitty baggage that portal where he comes down the side because he can't make the stairs anymore. You do know that the number one fear, that the biggest fear, that what everybody is freaking out over is he needing a walker. That's the part that kills his organization. He can't have a walker. Doctors are telling him, you're going to fall. And they're so afraid. Anybody else have a walker? You know, they have those little things where you sit on in the seat and you push and the wheels and all that. But they're not even doing that. Not even doing that. Okay. Let me try this. Again, I'm looking and I'm scouring and I'm listening to how many people, what are Americans in particular looking to understand what's happening? First and foremost, and again, I'm going to say this again, and it's critical and sometimes impossible for people to do. I want you to forget who's involved here. I want you to forget whether it's Tony, whether it's Hamas, Palestinian Authority, Palestinians, or Israel. Just forget it. Imagine you just came along, you don't even know the names of these people, and you're just listening to the facts. Okay? Okay. Number one. Do you know why? Why did Tony Blinken go to Israel in the Middle East? Why? Tell me why. I'm curious as to your genius here. Let me see if I can teach you, my class, my student. Gli studenti. Why? Tell me why. Why? Come on, tell me why. Tell me. Tell me why. No, seriously. Tell me why. Tell me why. I'm waiting. Tell me why. To try to cool the jets? Oh, sort of. Show support? For whom? What? I like that. Come on. Send a message. What message? Finish the sentence. What message? What was the message? We have the facts. No. No. Okay. Come on. To show where we stand. Where do we stand? You're missing the point. No genocide. Okay, I don't know what these means. Blinken had to do obeisance. Okay. Again, you're not explaining to me obeisance to whom, obeisance to what, to show support for what. Believe it or not, one of the things that is very interesting, and I mean this with all due respect, people, by virtue of the fact that they have been speaking for so long using phones, do not know how to write a thought. I get emails from people and I don't know what they're trying to say. Sparky says, because that's where the action is. Okay, thank you. Again, where? What was it? What was the message? Why did he go? What did he say? To send the message that the United States is ready to become totally involved with force? No. Somebody says these ads during live streams have to go. Capitalism? Commercials? The arrogance? This is a commercial. These ads. This is free. This is these billboards. Do we have to? I'm in a theater. This is where we are today. Hubris. Absolutely. Always complaining, always yammering. Get to the point. I say with all due respect. What is it about? No. Okay, not to use ground forces in Gaza. PD got it right. Right there. That's the answer. That's the answer. Was he there to show support for Israel? No. No, not at all. Not at all. That's the thing. Where would you get this? Where would you hear about this? For 8 hours, he kept pounding. They are retreating from Israel. Believe me, he's telling them, let in the humanitarian age. You understand this? Absolutely. He's telling people, we've had enough with this. You've got to show humanitarian, let the humanitarian aid. And they also told them, Israel told them, don't come here now because we have to start this ground force thing now. We're losing momentum. I'm not saying I think it's a horrible idea, but that's a different story. Listen to what's being said. Stop talking and throwing stuff out and I think this and I satanic. No, Listen to this. They're telling you. Nobody, how do we say this? Nobody's asking our opinion. Let me remind you, this is not about, well, I think. No, 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 no. Our opinion means nothing. This is actually going on right now. And the amount of infantilism, people who for some reason woke up one day and they say, I'm going to be able to talk about this. I'm going to weigh in. I don't know anything. I don't follow any news. I just have this kind of feel. And I'm going to say, follow the money. And I'm going to say things like, it's there. And by the way, I've heard pro-Israel folks say the same stuff. Or then pro or anti-Israel or pro-Palestinian. They don't know what they're talking about. Or they'll point to a video and say, this is horrible. Let me ask you a question. Again, we need to really retrain the way Americans think. We do not understand anything. And by the way, remember, you are the member of one of the rarest of commodities. You're even interested in this. You're even remotely interested. 99% of Americans don't know anything. They're talking about Britney Spears. Did you hear she got the abortion? Taylor Swift, the guy with the NFL player. That's where most people are. So of the absolute, how do I say this? Of the creme de la creme of people who are even involved, they're saying nothing. And you must not triangulate, but you must hear what every side is saying. People aren't going to do this. And of course we weren't there, so we don't know. But what the Israeli position is very simply this: they're saying, and this is important, they're saying that Blinken came and basically told Netanyahu, Biden's coming. And Israel said, we don't want Biden to come. We have to act now. No, we want you to, Biden's going to come. He's going to make his shuttle, whatever it is. Why? Don't know. Because of the election, Democrats, I have no idea. It was portrayed that he's showing support. They're meeting with everybody else. Abu Mazen, others, Lebanon. Apparently the last attempt to show, look, I'm kind of in charge. And by the way, nobody believes you. If you're going to do anything on the international spectrum, you must take a position and stick with it, and not. Putin doesn't do that. Xi Jinping doesn't do that. Erdogan different. He says he changes from day to day. But you can't appease everyone. You have to go and make a stand. And what they're telling Biden is, get out of here. We have to act now. They're also telling him, we need these bunker busters more than anything else. Again, I'm not asking you whether you like it, whether you agree with it. Does it make any sense? Follow the money. It's Satan. Okay, whatever. The truth is, they're saying we need these. We need these bunker busters. We need them more because they're critical. And you're the only ones who make them, apparently. We also need these tankers, these newfangled tankers to allow their jets, whatever, the aircraft to refuel. And they need all this stuff. Okay, you got it? Okay. That's what's happening. That's the next thing. Next. You've heard, again, they talk about humanitarian aid. Stick with a word. Humanitarian aid, apartheid, genocide, open air prisons. Stick with these phrases. You know how it is. It's how we all are on social media. Define for me humanitarian aid. What does that mean? What do you think? Somebody says, there's 1,000 bunker busters already. No, there's not. That's not what they're saying. No. How do you know this? I don't know. I just do you want me to tell you who's saying this? Do you want to hear? See, this is the part you must disabuse yourself. We know nothing. Start off with this every day. Look in the mirror and say, I don't know anything. I get a little bit from this, a little bit from that, and I maybe try to triangulate a little bit about. I'm so sick of this history. I know where Hamas comes from. I know that. We say, we spew, we belch and fart, and we just spew this certitude. We know this. We don't. The people who are there, they're telling us specifically, this is what we need. This is what we need. No, you don't need this. Why? Clem 1969, U.S. Patriot, wrote on my, he said, no, you don't need those. See, this is why I love social media, why I love free speech, and why I detest it, because people just spew. I don't know where. I'm telling you what I'm hearing these parties say, not what I think. Israel's Palestinians or human shields excuse doesn't apply. Hamas is 60 feet underground in tunnels, not in hospitals. Israel goes far beyond the Hammurabi Code to their detriment. Sparky, you must get on a plane and you must go immediately to speak with members and our friends with the IDF, because they are telling you specifically that is not true. They are also telling you that they are under this one particular hospital, and they are asking apparently for a weapon that they don't need. So what we're saying is that apparently Israel is asking for weapons, bombs, bunker busters, that they don't need. They are saying we have hundreds and hundreds of miles, very deep, very whatever. They're saying this. So understand what we're saying here. You're saying they're saying that Israel is asking for weapons they don't need. Does that make any sense? No. Eric Thaddeus Walter says, why? Questions are a luxury of ivory tower denizens and Monday night armchair quarterbacks, flatulating into the lazy boy with a bag of Doritos. More productive interrogatives are how and what, and also an excellent point, but also what's the narrative next? Here is the question. Let's take both sides. Right now, as we speak, two things are going to happen. The IDF general or whatever gave this seemed thorough depiction with posters and signs about how this rocket landed on the hospital was actually Hamas based. It was a Hamas base. Okay, do you understand this? It is Hamas based. That's what they're saying. Okay, so they had voices with translation, and you can question the authentication, but basically you have Hamas leaders, people, operatives saying that was our shell. Okay. What do you watch? What's going to happen with that? Because that was the thing last night, not to mention storming embassies and the like. So what did that tell you? What should you watch specifically? Let's think of this. What do you think? Tell me. What does that mean? What happens? What am I asking? I'll ask the question. You've got to ask to see what's the follow-up on this. If this is pursued, if you hear more and more of this today from the various news, because let's face it, the vast majority of everybody in the media is 100% anti-Israel. Guaranteed. So, Keep that in mind. That's the truth. That's the truth. You've got Fox News, but it's lame. It's not even. I mean, if that's your your defense, you're screwed. With the exception of Fox News. If nobody brings it up, then it was Hamas. If you hear people say, that's not what these people were, those conversations are wrong, they speak in a particular dialect, some statements made by the IDF regarding this particular phrase was wrong, or if something, that means something. If nobody responds to this, if they just let this go, if they just let it happen, that means Israel's right. You will never hear a self-correction on the part of either the left or Hamas or whatever. Never. Palestinian, never. You never say, you know what? We made a mistake. Sorry. We stand corrected. That was indeed one of ours. They don't even say one of ours. They don't acknowledge. They say, who are these people? Who are these people? Who is shelling? On October the 7th, they won't even talk about Hamas. They won't say anything. They just don't even discuss it. It's something that's really interesting. Well, they had it coming. Yeah, but what do you think about this attack on October the 7th? Well, they had it coming. So they don't say anything. This is where you really run into problems. This is a problem with the Israeli point of view. And I heard this from one of the various spokespeople and the like. They're saying you cannot, Gaza must pay the price for voting these people in. In 2006, whatever, there was one election, I guess, 2006. That was it. So they're saying, well, don't give me this humanitarian business, because all this humanitarian is, it's all about Hamas and it's all about their weapons. Who inspects until disproved, who inspects the shipments going into Gaza? Who? What am I asking you for? UNRWA. The UN, where is this? The UN, and it's not I was reading about the ISF, the Lebanon, we'll get to that in a moment. UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Workers Agency. UNRWA. There was a tweet that went out the other day of somebody says, hey, these people are funded by Hamas, or the stuff that they're approving is really weapons, and UNRWA's in on it. And well, this person they deleted the tweet and whatever it was. So there are people who suspect that it's this UNRWA group that is responsible for this. So when you have weapons inspectors, if you say let in the humanitarian aid, who's going to be inspecting it? These guys. Do you trust them? No. Do you trust the United Nations? I don't. With anything? No. What happens with that? You see where this is? Wow. This is hard. I mean, they've got a point, and then they've got a point. They've got a point, and they've got a point. And if I hear one more time how come the Israeli intelligence didn't pick up on this? Why are we talking about that? Why are we still discussing that? That's old. Well, what is the history of Hamas? Was Hamas ever, did Bibi Netanyahu actually one time, in order to thwart a two-state solution, actually promote? Did they promote such and such? That's it? Are we still saying that? Yep. We're still saying that? Mm-hmm. Yep. We're still doing that same argument? Mm-hmm. So where are we going? Okay. Next. So what was Blinken doing? Was he there to show support? Not according to a lot, not all, but a lot of Israelis are saying, no, he came out there to basically tell them that's enough. That's enough. He can look to the world like he's doing something, and he had to go to other countries as well. Next, What was the significance of Jordan snubbing Biden? What do you think? What do you think? Huge. That was the biggest FU in the world. Unbelievable. That was wow. And one of the things too, who do you think helped along with that? Who do you think helped along with that? MBS. Oh yeah, absolutely. They're all thick as thieves, as we would say. And one of the things, remember when he refused Joe Biden's call? Remember? Who runs this show? Probably more important than anybody else is MBS. He's sitting back, he's watching it. Do you think MBS has any interest in the Palestinian thing? No. No. Do you think Hamas cares anything about? Where are the Hamas leaders? They're in Qatar. They're elsewhere. Some of them might be billionaires, but they are living the high life. They don't live in Gaza. They have nowhere near Gaza. They just call the shots, and their families go to. They love this theocratic, tough, tough, the specific world regarding women. But their daughters go to the best schools. I mean, they're hypocrites, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's talk about the monies. The monies, I think one of the restrictions against certain bombs and certain types of weapons is going to be lifted either tomorrow or very, very soon. So they asked Biden, or asked his emissary, they didn't ask Biden anything. What are you going to do about all of these weapons? Will Iran be able to buy them now and fuel and support? Because remember, it's Israel now against the world all over again, which might make a lot of people happy, because people, for reasons that have nothing to do with anything historical, theological, a lot of people just hate Israel, hate them. And it's not even anti-Semitism. It's this typical troll mentality. You got to like people. You got to hate people. We always hate everybody. We hate this one. We hate that one. Okay, fine. Believe me, it's not because of any particular reason that you might think. Or Valera says, what are the chances they're trying to bump off the big guy? I mean, if stay round lands near you, have to get a new candidate for 2024. You know, Mr. or Ms. or whoever, Valera, you bring up a good point. It is usually a risk of some sort. I used to be able to say that put it this way: imagine being Biden and you're being asked, or you're asking Israeli security that didn't know about the October 7th thing to watch out for you, and of course they have Secret Service. I think it would be extremely sheer lunacy for anybody to do this. That would be the end. Well, but it's a great question. And that goes to show you. And not only that, when you take this 80-year-old enfeebled coot out of his, from watching Matlock in the afternoon to flying him all the way across, it's a brutal flight. And then he's got to read note cards. You must really want it to happen. Sparky says, isn't the Gaza considered siege considered a war crime? Why does the ICC go after Putin and not Bibi? Well, it's interesting. I don't know that it's a good question. The ICC is a toothless tiger. It means nothing. And Sparky, you know a little about this. How many war crimes do you think the United States has been involved in? Why is Henry Kissinger not in the dock due to war crimes? A siege. We can now go to the Hague, I guess, provided we are a signatory to that. And we can debate whether this is a siege or whether it was. Anytime you give people a bunch of words, what are you going to do? War criminal means loser. So anybody who loses is looking at as a war criminal, not as a. But it's a very good point of view. And one could argue that these terms don't apply in this age of terrorism. How do you apply the Geneva Conventions? How do you do that? Who's the enemy? And you release them, let's say for POWs. You release them after the war. When's there a war? Eric Thaddeus Walter says Mediterranean basin anticipates Scheisse to hit the fan by the weekend, especially after Joe's and BB's meet and sleep this morning. Yes. Let me tell you what's going to have to happen, Eric. You bring up a good point. Strategically, I think all of us agree. All of us agree. Maybe not. Well, let me ask you something. Is there anybody who thinks it's a good idea for Israel to involve in a ground assault, an actual boots on the ground assault of Gaza City, the Strip? Does anybody think that's a good idea? Anyone? Not morally. That could be it. Not strategically, tactically, legally. Does anybody think that's a good idea? Anybody? 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 No. That is just absolute lunacy. Lunacy. It is going to be the end of the world. You may not like this, but here is the bottom line. Hamas owns Gaza. Everything in, everything out. It runs the show. Whether people voted, I think it was 2006, they had an election. I don't know. Whether they like Hamas, don't like Hamas, whatever it is. Either way, the bottom line is simply this. Gaza is Hamas, period. Abu Mazen is kind of like an emissary. He's kind of like he's Palestinian Authority, but that's the way that is. Hamas knows, and they've done this, and they've said this. They don't have a headquarters here. They say is it the Shifa hospital? There's a hospital where they have, everybody has said since the beginning, their command and control is either it's below a hospital. This is undisputed among everybody. Now, of course, they're not going to tell you. They're not going to say, "Wow," and you know what? Strategically, it makes sense. Sparky says, didn't say ICC was effective, just pointing out what they're ostensibly doing. Oh, listen, like I said, how many criminal counts could the United States have? Look at Vietnam alone. I mean, what we know of. My Lai, that was a court martial. It wasn't the ICC. It was horrible. But you may not like this. This may not bother you. But Hamas is smart. They say, we're going to go into this and we're going to go underneath hospitals. We're going to go to homes and schools. And that's it. We call them a human shield. Israel calls them collateral damage. That's the way that is. You got a problem with that? That's the way it is. Get over it, Sparky. Get over it. You understand? That's it. Period. That's the way it is. Period. Capiche? That's it. That's the reality. That's what's happening. That's it. It may not meet to your liking. You may say, oh, no. Oh, yeah. Oh, it is. Second, I think it's true. The UN is in on the game. Israel has no friends. Just accept it. And you might say, well, for good reason. Okay, I'm not going to argue one way or the other. Israel needs not only the money from the U.S., but they say, but we need munitions. They need bunker buster. They have to go in. And we can say, no, you don't. You already have those. Hamas has, I don't know how many rockets. You also have Hezbollah. And let me explain something to you. Have you ever seen the American, I forget what her name is, the American ambassador to Lebanon? Oh, where did the Hamas folks learn how to paraglide? Anybody remember that? Brizin Himura says, why do we have to care about this war? The way I see it, whichever side I'm on doesn't help me pay my rent. That goes for everything. That goes for everything. Tell me what, that's a good point. Tell me what international or national or interest, what affects you definitely. We will either be talking about or discussing maybe 10% of things. Does abortion doesn't affect me. I don't have any, I'm not a woman, I don't have work, kids are, no, I'm not gonna, no. Puberty block, I don't care about that. What do I care about? IAA, I don't know. What? You want to go through this? Crime? I live in a place, I live in Montana, we don't have crime here. You want to go through this? One of the hardest things to do is to explain to somebody why you have to know and care about the world, unless you say, I'm not. And by the way, it's okay to say that. Sparky says United States has war crimes, but Israel doesn't. Sparky, when was the last time the United States was involved in any war crimes? When was the last time we were on the dock? I don't think we're signatories, but my point is, we have war crimes for other people. When are we ever called out? People have been talking about Kissinger, like I said, forever. Christopher Hitchens did it. Other people have. War crimes are a joke. It's a winner. The war criminal means you lost the war. You lost the war. And as soon as you go forward, you could say, okay, Israel, you did this. Israel says, yeah, but Hamas, basically, what about October the 7th? Yeah, but well, who was that? Well, that's not a country. That's Hamas. Well, they don't count. And then we're going to argue back and forth about it. Well, does Hamas count as somebody who would be susceptible under the criminal? Well, I'm not sure. Well, what are we talking about? Well, I don't know. You want to get into that? It's a great question. It's meaningless. It's meaningless. How come they're charging Trump with this? But how come, and by the way, you know who we never talk about anymore is, of course, Hunter Biden. How come Hunter Biden doesn't get charged, but Trump does? You want to talk about that? Great. Or maybe our friend would say, that doesn't affect me either. Okay, don't talk about that. Imagine having a channel that only had stories that affected your life and being able to pay the rent. Imagine that. You would have nothing. There are people who find Britney Spears fascinating, and that doesn't affect anybody. By the way, I know you don't care about this, but one of the greatest PR brilliant moves is Taylor Swift, from just somebody who studies how thoughts and memes are presented. And the NDA this guy must have signed must make the Magna Carta look like, I don't know what. I mean, my God. In any event. So what we're doing is we're just kind of talking. Let's go back to what I said originally. It's over for Israel. Internationally, nationally, it's done. It is done. Blinken went over there and told Netanyahu, don't you think for a moment I'm here to show support? You better knock this off now, period. We're losing polls. We got an election coming up, and we are dying in this, period. And we might say something in public, but we don't mean it. So knock this off. More humanitarian aid. That's where we are right now. Now, here's the question. And this goes to show you why, very frankly, a lawyer can handle this. Most people can't. A lawyer could understand if I said, okay, what would you do if you were, how would you advise Israel? Or how would you advise Hamas? You can switch sides intellectually. People can't do that. They cannot do that. Most people can't. Sparky says, if the establishment narrative is again Israel, why do I have to encode my super chat? I do not even understand that. I don't understand any of that. Do you want me to tell you other stories? I'm not going to do it, but do you know the games I've had to play with social media? Do you have any idea of what I've had to go through? What we all go through? I mean, people would say, you're lucky. At least you can recode it or rephrase it or give it a word. You're lucky. There are other people who say no. But it's a very good point. Who's responsible for that? Who's responsible for that? And what's interesting too is if you think, well, this obviously there must be some kind of an inherent bias. Why don't you think people would say, well, let me see. You can go ahead and you can put in things about this particular country that's negative. We'll let you do that. Maybe. So, but who's responsible for this? Who's responsible for this? I love when somebody for the first time says, hey, this social media stuff. I say, welcome to the club. Welcome. Oh, we can tell you some great stories. I'm not going to tell you now, but where have you been? Adrian, Silver Fox says, would you ever consider taking your live show to your old stomping grounds in Southwest Florida? We'd love to see you in February, but have plans. Yeah, I'm going to go there because I may do it, but yeah, we'll see. And by the reason why it's fun, and I appreciate that, Silver Fox. I think something happens to me when I go to Florida. I lose IQ points. I swear to God, I get off the plane and I think, I just start thinking, oh, I feel it. Another thing that happens, by the way I do it is we have Q&A, and it's not your usual thing. Most people consider anybody at the time, any of these comedians, any of the times that folks do this, whenever they try to do it, they like to consider what you're doing to be heckling. I insist upon it. Arizona says the big guy is going there to arrange for kickbacks to his family of the money we send. Well, interesting. That is not far-fetched, but he wouldn't do that. He would have other people do it for him. Maybe he'd send Hunter there, but you know what? That's not far-fetched. He did it to everybody else. He did it to Ukraine. Zelensky doesn't know what to do now. Fauci saw an opportunity to rehab his reputation. Fauci's fine. Sparky, the thing that makes people great about Fauci is that we've already forgotten about Fauci. We've forgotten about it. It doesn't really matter. Let me go back to what I'm saying, which is the most critical thing in the world for me to tell you. It's over for Israel when it comes to, it's done. Israel will never, ever be able to recover in terms of the politics of this because of what happened now. Never. And it will take forever to revamp that position. Hang on a minute. Raul Rodriguez says, how much did BLM boost anti-Israel sentiment? It's interesting, Raul. It's a good idea. A lot of people, first of all, BLM does not exist. BLM is kind of like I don't know. It's like saying New World Order or something. I mean, it technically exists, but it's not. And by the way, they went bankrupt. They squirreled on the money away. They stole it, and nothing ever happened to them. The main person. Remember Candace Owens' big documentary? That went nowhere. She's protected. I have a hard time with anti-Semitism. The allegation. Most of the time, it's not anti-Semitism. Most of the time, I will say to you, you're dealing with people who don't hate you because of, to me, anti-Semitism has to do with being Jewish, not being Israeli, being Jewish, Judaism, Zionist, maybe, but it's against that. It's about not maybe Judaism, but the culture, but it's about being a Jew. That's anti-Semitism. That to me is. Being against Israeli policy, there are people in Israel, Haaretz, read that with two A's, that's a diphthong kind of. Read anything with Haaretz. It'll blow your mind. You can't believe what they've said. You can't believe it. People are too stupid to be able to describe. They love to hate. And if you are in certain circles, Being anti-Israeli is great. It's your bona fides. You are a member of the club. Good for you. The louder you are, make sure you say apartheid, open air prison, that sort of thing. They don't want to hear anything about perspective. They don't want to hear this. They don't. Americans in particular hate that. Most people are trying their best to maybe pretend to care about something. Maybe. But they don't. They really don't. They look at this as, give me something simple. And right now, if you look at the news, if you look at what's going on, you'll see a hospital was bombed. You'll see last night. What happens when an embassy is taken? What happens? That's super serious. Super serious. What happens then? That is an act against a sovereign nation. That is our terrible. What did Benghazi teach us about that? Anything? Nothing's going to happen. You're going to see this. Let me also tell you what's going to happen. And I predict it, not because I know it, I predict it. You're going to start seeing there are things coordinated like you cannot believe. There are things that are coordinated. I'm telling you yet again that you are not able to believe. You are not going to even remotely be able to understand or grasp what it means and what you're seeing and how all this stuff works. I'm telling you, they have got things organized in terms of, and I don't know what intel they have, embassies, staggered. They can't do anything when Biden's here. This isn't going. And wait until you have somebody that's already in this country who decides to, I don't know, trigger some lone wolf attack or whatever you want to call it. Sparky says, U.S. proxy Hamas got Israel to take the bait, but the U.S. just wanted to stir things up, not to put Israel on the path to self-destruction. U.S. State Department is run by evil fools using bad intel. Now, I appreciate that in terms of its comprehensive simplicity. There's a lot of truth there in broad brush antics. Somebody said one time, was it Kissinger? I forget who said it, but they said the worst, the people you have to worry about the most is the State Department. They are the most in terms of vile, corrupt, and incompetent. Of them all, it's the State Department. That's the one you got to watch out for. See, that's one thing Trump never knew. When Trump went in, he never had his Jim Baker to tell him what to watch out for. He never had any of those folks. He never had anybody to run interference for him. He never had anybody. And I would love, for example, Sparky, I would love for you and me to walk in and say, let's sit down. And I'm going to have for you 10, 15, 20 people come in and we're going to explain what's going to happen to you. And they're going to tell you something, and we're going to go to a skiff room, and you're going to hear stuff that is so beyond top secret, it would blow your mind. And I think if you heard this, I think if they told you, let me explain to you the truth of this, where it started, how it started, where it's going, and history to an extent, history is very nice in terms of being able to explain things, but it doesn't tell you where you're going. You know, when you're in a boat and you look behind you, you're at the stern of the boat and you see the wake and you see the waves and you see what you've done. That's the history of the boat. That doesn't propel you. That doesn't do anything. It represents where you've been. It represents what happened, but it has nothing to do with what's in front of you. Nothing. And keep that in mind with your own family. I don't want to hear about, well, you know, I was a kid and I had a tough time. Fine. That was then. That's behind you. That doesn't tell you who you are today unless you let it. If you let it, it's a different story. But Sparky, I'd love to sit down and say, okay, let me show you what's happening here. And I'd say, come here. I got my friend Sparky here. Can you tell me that United States controls Hamas? Anybody here? Can we do this? In fact, let me go back. Let me get the particular reading here. This is important. I'm going to say, can you tell me that U.S. proxy, that Hamas is a U.S. proxy? That's number one. Can you do that? Hamas is a U.S. proxy. Person would come in and say, no, Matt, well, it might be an Israeli proxy, at least initially going back to history. And it certainly is a proxy of this nascent form of this Palestinian, whatever it is. And all of that might have been presaged in the past by whatever. But no, it's not a proxy. We don't. No. Hamas is a pain in the ass. Hamas does nothing. Hamas might be great for arms dealers, but this is not a proxy that we need to deal with. This is a problem. This is a mess. Americans in particular, State Department may love it, but politicians hate it. Got Israel to take the bait. I don't know what the bait is, but they were attacked. Israel was attacked. That's not, if that's what we're talking about. That's not taking the bait. That is a guarantee. If I walk up to you and I slap you, you're going to hit me back. You're not taking the bait. You're not going to, you will not, it's impossible for you to sit there and say, well, maybe, he didn't mean it. No, that's not going to work. So you're not taking the bait. That's a reaction I know you will take because we would take it also. Except when we got hit with 9/11, we hit the wrong people. The U.S. just wanted to stir things up. Right now, the U.S. military-industrial complex, they may love it. Republicans may love it. Joe Biden hates it. Hates it with a passion. Not to put Israel on the path of self-destruction. U.S. State Department is run by evil fools and bad intel. So, yes. I think to look no further than our dear friend, that wonderful Victoria Nuland. There are people like Henry Kissinger who love to play the world like a game of Risk. Did you ever play Risk when you were a kid? They love this. And it's a very, very simple thing. They love to play and fiddle with the world. And the United States has always enjoyed it because we were always a player. We were always a player in the entire mess. If you were Portugal, you weren't a player. If you were Spain, you're really a player. You might have been a player in terms of, other things. Not to get too far into this, again, and I appreciate the comments. Don't focus too much on what doesn't matter initially now. Okay? You understand this? Do you understand this? Hang on a minute. Mrs. L, got a comment. Gotta talk to her. Yes. This is the part which is so critical. Right? Let me see if I can explain this. How do I explain this? To you? It's wonderful for us to play. How do I say this? This is very good. To play at least this kind of like a multi-layered, multi-tiered, I don't know what the word is, kind of a multi-tiered game of intrigue and all this. Okay, fine. I appreciate that. That's wonderful. But it's even simpler than this. It's almost simpler. And I want to go back again to our issue, our story, and my analogy of cancer. And I want you to think about this. We have a patient who has cancer. I don't want to hear dietitians come in. They might have helped before. They might have said, I think this diet, excuse me, no relevance. Sorry. It might have been important then. We're past that. We're past the diet part. Somebody might come in and say, genetically, family history. Excuse me, we don't care about family history. History right now is we got a patient who's about to die. What do we have? What do we do? I want to talk to surgery. I want to talk to radiology. I want to talk to oncology. That's who I want to talk about. I don't want to talk to these other people. I don't want to talk about psychiatry. His mental health might be. The man's in a coma. Don't worry about that. What do we talk about right this moment? Right this moment. And while this is wonderful, and I appreciate this, the patient is the world, or the patient is the Middle East, or it's West Asia, or it's Israel, or it's Palestine, whatever you want to call it. If you think that somehow Palestine, whatever you want to call it, is going to remain unscathed from this, you have no idea of what you're talking about. Let me say this again. You have no idea. None. If you think this is just Israel going away, you have no idea that's not going to happen. If you think that Israel somehow can not negotiate a two-state solution, we're past that. It's not going to happen. If you think that this is only going to remain in this area, you're out of your mind. This is the point of incineration. It's like going to a house after an arson. Fire started here. That's what we're talking about right now. We love this highfalutin talk about nothing. Nothing. We talk about this stuff that's just, I don't know what do we do? It's very simple. This is happening right now. And when somebody said, why should I care about this? Well, you don't care about it, so don't worry about it. Other people care for it too. But this goes to show you, we just love this stuff. We just love talking about everything about it. Number one is simply this. What is the world going to do regarding Israel? Is it going to support Israel or not? Question number one. Question number two. If it doesn't support, provide armament, provide weaponry, provide money and support and all this stuff. Because Israel always says, we'll do it. Well, you'll do it with our assistance, but yes, you'll technically pull the trigger, but we'll give you the gun and you pull it. All right. What happens? What happens? Think about it. What happens? I can't explain that one enough to you. And if you say to yourself, well, it's just, what? This is, and people will always say, it's the largest democracy in the Middle East. They've got our back. There's a Jewish contingent here that's, of course, very powerful, very loyal, who have horrible memories of the Holocaust. I got it. But here's the question. What do we do? What does the world do? You got to ask yourself that question. If Israel just, folds? What? Now we're saying you have a group of people who are feeling empowered. You have Hamas and others who say, we thought that Israel was far more powerful than it is. It's not. That emboldens them. What do we do? Second issue. Can you make a deal with who? Who's the other side? Do we make a deal with what? If I represented the Palestinian contingent, I would go to the U.S. and the West and say, listen, we've got no beef with you. None. Never have. We had nothing to do with this 9/11 business, so stop bringing that up. That's your thing. We've got no beef with you. You understand that? That's what I would say. Don't call you the Satan. Don't call you this. Blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. That's the thing. Israel or this, and is there a possibility of brokered? I don't know. But right now, the world and the media and everybody, it is so absolutely pro-Palestinian. And you can say whether that's anti-Israel, whatever, it's a different story. But I've never seen anything like it now. Sparky says, Israel taking the bait was their gross overreaction. Palestinians are a pawn population. Sparky, what should they have done? What should they have done? What should they have done, knowing the players, knowing the area? What was their overreaction? What? Tell me what reaction they could have ever done that was not construed as an overreaction. Tell me. Do you think anybody in the Palestinian army or a section has an ability to appreciate measured response? Please tell me that. What should have been their response in this area with Israel, and not to abandon your own citizens and the rest of the world? What did it do? What did it do that was overreact? What did it do? What did Israel do after it was hit by, not only was it just horrific, but what did it do that was an overreaction? What? This is important. What was their reaction? What? So you can't answer that. And the reason why you can't answer it is because this is unlike any other thing. And they know that you're playing chess with people who have been doing this forever. They know exactly what's happening. Captain Serenity, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Ask yourself this question. What did they do? And I'm not suggesting there was a way to handle this. And let's don't go through the mistakes and they should have known this and all this stuff. My question is, what should they have done? Does anybody know? Anybody have any idea? Anybody? Does anybody know? No, you don't. You don't. Because there is no answer. There is none. That was precisely the reason for this. That was precisely the reason. Anything that Israel does, and this is the truth, will always be considered either too much or too little. Too little sometimes by its own civilians or citizens, and too much by the rest of the world. Israel is incapable. And I'm not standing up for Israel. I think they have made so many mistakes. Oh, but that's moot at this particular point in terms of getting the message across. Tell me. Okay, this is a good one. Israel declared war, gave Gaza 24-hour warning. You can walk 24 miles in 8 hours in Gaza. I don't care if the mothers and children of Hamas are crying. Okay, that might have been good. Declaring war, very good. It's an excellent point. You might be able to argue that you can't declare war against an ideology. Okay, what would you have done? I don't understand. I do not understand the practicality, whether it makes sense or not, to tell people you have to leave Gaza. I don't even know what that means. You have to leave Gaza? What? You have to leave? What do you mean you got to leave? Yeah, you got to leave. You got to leave? Where are you going? Well, I don't know. Yeah, but I live here. Well, sorry. You voted for Hamas. And that's one particular. That was your thing. You got to live with it. Sorry. You side with them. Gazan people say, wait a minute. Wait. I didn't how do I say this? I didn't sign on for this. I'm kind of a hostage in my own country. What do you do? Could they have done this? Could they have said, listen, we know where these people are. Okay, if you live at 224 Elm Street, get out. We're gonna go in there. As opposed to we're gonna level Gaza, we're gonna level the whole thing. That I don't even understand how that works. Our friend says something short of a gross PR disaster. But Sparky, what is it? What is it? You and I are on the same page, my friend, and you're leading us down the right decision. The thing that people don't understand is simply this. People don't like BB. They like him there, maybe. He comes across, his PR is atrocious. Atrocious. His time has gone. If somebody else came, I'm going to tell you something, and you're going to think I'm nuts. If there was a moderate, intelligent, calm woman, young person, Sparky says, dang, Lionel, give me a chance to type my answer. Bless your heart. If somebody had said, ladies and gentlemen, let me explain to you this situation. This is a complex. This is where such and such. This is where Hamas is. This is a building. Now, let me show you this picture. We captured this a while back, and in the basement is this. This is where Hamas had their whatever. And you can say this. You can show pictures of it. Now, here's a question I ask the world. What would you do if in your neighborhood you found out that this building across the street was sending missiles over, let's say, to New Jersey, across the Hudson River into New Jersey? And New Jersey said to you, hey, let's say Weehawken says, hey, cut that out. And we said, don't look at us. That's Hamas. I don't give a damn who that is. You better stop that. No, you don't understand. They're holding us hostage. This is our home, and they're in the basement. Okay, you got 24 hours to get out because we're going to level it. Why are you leveling it? Because Hamas is in your basement. Somebody might say, you know, that's interesting. I didn't know that. How many people don't know that? How many people don't know that? Go through the evidence. Let me just explain this to you. Ask someone, say, my name is so-and-so. I want to invite, I'll go on the Junk Yogurt show or whoever, Joe Rogan. You bring your person, I'll bring mine. Let's tell the world. You think I'm kidding? People don't understand the issue. They just see Israel. They don't understand it. Now, that doesn't mean Israel's right. Overreaction, perhaps, whatever that means. Cool Roy says, warmongers and population control freaks. You know, it's funny you say that rather than dismiss it. Cool. There is something to be said. There is a population control, but almost like a population redistribution. You know what I mean? It's like they're not per se after. How do I say this? It's not to reduce populations. It's almost just to if Israel, listen. Let's be honest. If Israel had their way, they would have loved to be able to say, let's get everybody from all the Palestinians, get out. That would be great, wouldn't it? Get out. Or forget this West Bank, forget this Gaza. This is ours. I mean, that just makes sense. That's not going to happen. But this is the point that you have to understand. If you can't explain this to people, we're wasting our time. That's all I'm saying. It's very complicated. There's no simple answer to this. That's the issue. That's the thing I'm telling you. There is no answer to this. None. It's all changed drastically. Drastically. You hear what I'm saying? Drastically. That in ways that nobody will ever be able to return. Now, friends, This was wonderful. This was great. Thank you for listening. Thank you for this. Thank you. This is I think this has been one of the best. I want to get down to brass tacks and talk about the issues. And I want to thank you. And thank you for the subscribing. That means so much. Absolutely, positively. Thank you. Thank you. I want you to also make sure you like this video. It's critical. And you've got to keep subscribing. And also follow me on Twitter. And one more thing, by the way, this is very important. I want you to follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors and for YouTube at Lynn's Warriors as well. Lynn's_Warriors on X or Twitter. Absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. And for our friends today, our dear friends, our incredibly so kind and considerate friends. Cool Roy, thank you. Sparky, you had your finest hour. Captain Serenity, Raul Rodriguez, Arizona, Silver Fox, Brizen Himura, thank you. I know I'm mispronouncing the name. Of course, the lovely and talented, enigmatic and ineffable, the ineluctable wit and wisdom of Eric Thaddeus Walters. R. Valera, thank you. And let me see who else is there. That's it. Don't forget our friends at MyPillow, mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. And right now, save 2. Ooh, that's the wrong one. That is the cutting room. This is the one you want. Save $200 off a 3-month emergency food kit order from preparewithlionel.com. All right, dear friends, what a day it's been. Now here, listen to me carefully. Today we've got an interesting change. We're going today to start our evening show even earlier at like 3:30. Okay? About 3:30. So it's going to be different. It's not going to be 7. It's going to be 3:30. Sparky has one more thing. Sparky says, when people cop out and say they've been fighting for thousands of years, they skip 3,000 years. Jews got along great with other Southwest Asians. People start with the Philistines and skip to the 1900s. You know, you were right about that. And Sparky, there were also times when people got along when they weren't necessarily powerful. But that's an excellent point. Again, history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. Remember that one? So anyway, it might be, like I said today, it might be 3:30. In fact, it will be 3:30. So just that's why you've got to constantly have that little bell linked in the light. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious day. See you today, 3:30, starting early, 3:30 to 4:30. We'll talk to you then. Have a great day. Don't forget these words. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.